What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. It's October 23rd, 2021. Boy, is it a day full of shows. We had Grapsity today. We had SmackDown and Rampage last night. And before we went off the air, we said something wild happened backstage, and we're going to dig into it. Boy, did we dig into it. I'll go ahead and give you all the plug. Fightfulselect.com has a constantly updated article on Charlotte, Becky Lynch, their backstage argument, and all that. We've been talking to people all day about it. Fightfulselect.com. We will also have some Bound for Glory news as it's going on. We've got exclusive news there every day. I got to plug it now because I won't be on this show long because I'm watching Bound for Glory. But we got Alex Pawlowski. We got Robert DeFelice. How y'all doing?
Good. Good. Better than last night after SmackDown, but not better than last night after Rampage. Because there's some stuff that happened at the end of the show that I really call into question.
Oh, yeah. Robert, how you doing?
I would co-sign that. Doing pretty good, but I think Rampage ended a little stronger.
Guys, leave a thumbs up on this video, subscribe, tap that bell for notifications, send a super chat to get your question or statement read on the air. Now, I mentioned I won't be on this show long, but I'm trying to do on these shows I'm not hosting, but I'm on. Drop some backstage news, maybe give you all some talking points for later on. Several things on this show were filmed last week. I thought AEW did really, really good with all the people that were on the Jericho cruise. We're talking people that you all probably didn't even realize: the Seidel brothers, Marco, Orange Cassidy, Starks, Jake, Aubrey, Rebel, Abaddon, Brian Cage, Chucky T, Sonny Kiss, Jamie Hayter, the Wingmen, Gun Club. All these people, and then like way more were on the Jericho cruise. So obviously they weren't on tonight's show. But as I mentioned, I think who was on there? Orange Cassidy, Britt Baker, Hobbs, Anna Jay, Colt Cabana. These people who had popped up in pre-tapes or matches last night, those were filmed last week. So they got quite a bit of stuff that was filmed in the can, and they didn't seem like these people were missing weeks at a time. Update on Lance Archer. He did tweet, but I heard from backstage he seemingly okay. What is seemingly okay? We don't know. I'm sure he's going to get looked at. I'm sure he's going to get checked out, all that stuff. A very nasty spot there. As Oscar Villanueva says, he's a tough SOB. I was told that he walked backstage on his own power, was laughing, joking, all that stuff, was seemingly okay. Tony Nese was placed at ringside before the opening match, featured a couple times on screen. Alex was a lover of 205 Live at one point. I'm excited to hear his thoughts on that, but I don't know about the contract status of him. I'm working to find out. There were numerous fans kicked out of this show, including a couple for having some very vulgar signs. There's another situation that I think police got involved in and ejected somebody. So that's special. Obviously, the Good Brothers aren't there tonight. They're at Impact defending their Impact tag titles. I've been told they have not been at like the last 3 tapings. They've been off like 3 weeks. There was a report, I think it was from Ringside News, that said that relationship between Impact and AEW would be ending after Bound for Glory. I've heard that. I just haven't verified it and ran it through there. But that's something I had actually heard a few weeks ago. I was told they wouldn't be on AEW for the next few weeks. I don't know if that will be moving forward, but I don't think there's any ill will on that. And the last note I have, Cole Jungle Boy, it's finally coming together. This has been planned since Cole came into the company. I don't think it's a surprise, but for those of you who didn't know, it has been planned since he came into the company, and he definitely went out of his way to mention him in interviews, mention Jungle Boy in interviews and things like that. But Adam Cole's got to realize one thing. You know it's all about. But that's my time, guys. Hope you guys have a great show. FightfulSelect.com. I've got an ongoing live discussion on AEW, this show, GCW, at 1 a.m. there is a Bound for Glory post show. Steven Jensen, Jeremy Lambert. I'm going to try to pop up on that too. Enjoy, guys.
Well, I don't know how we top that, but all right, here we go.
well, I mean, we can try. I don't know. Hi everybody. Welcome, Fightful Faithful. I'm Alex Pawlowski. This is Robert DeFelice.
Hello.
We normally do this stuff with Shawn doing the lead, but we're going to figure out how this works as we go. Try not to step all over each other.
Yeah, we've never done this.
No, not the two of us together. But please send in your super chats, and we will read them on the air and discuss them. And you ask us questions, and we will answer them within reason. I always have to say within reason because you never know who's out there on the internet.
You never know.
So first of all, every Saturday, hours before now time, you should watch Grapsody. It's on Fightful. It's amazing. Will Washington, Phil Lindsay, and Righteous Reg do an amazing job. Oscar Villanueva sends in super chat saying he wants to give a shout out to Grapsody. Will, Reg, and Phil rule. Give you an honest opinion and a perspective you may not have been aware about. Yes, every Saturday, they let me know some stuff about how another way I could be looking at what's going on in the world of wrestling, and it's totally invaluable.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best things on this channel, and there's a lot of good on this channel, so check that out every Saturday.
Yeah. New Punk Rants sends in a super chat. I had this here. I want to set it up on the screen. AEW was much needed after I was diagnosed with a tumor. I'm so fortunate to have AEW and all the escapism I have. Hopefully y'all are good. Hopefully you are good, New Punk Rants. We're sending you love. Everybody in the Fightful Faithful I know is rooting for you. Well, stay with us. Let us know your prognosis as you're going through this, and we are all there for you with our thoughts and prayers and everything.
That's right.
But thank you so much for turning us on to try and get you out of this. We'll try and keep it entertaining at least. Yeah. So the thing started out with right off the bat, Bryan Danielson versus Dustin Rhodes. And I saw a lot of really great praise for this match. It didn't come from me. Like, this is the thing, is that I'm a guy who says Dustin Rhodes is fine, but isn't this anymore. And I was actively watching Bryan Danielson slow down and do spots slower to make sure that Dustin Rhodes can catch up to him. The same way I watched Malachi Black do the same thing versus Dustin Rhodes before. I think both Danielson and Malachi Black have had their worst matches with Dustin Rhodes. I don't think that's a coincidence. I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm not saying he hasn't had an amazing career. I'm saying that putting him up and saying that this is going to be an all-time classic and everybody's rooting for Dustin Rhodes, like, maybe you are, but it's presumptuous to say everybody. I thought the match was good. Like, probably pretty good, but all of the stuff that when it made it go from pretty good, from good to pretty good, that's all on Danielson making this match work for me. What do you think?
Look, Dustin Rhodes had a great start to his AEW career. I think his match with Cody was one of the best AEW matches still that I've seen, just because great style, they meshed well together.
They meshed well together, and the specific story they were telling within that match made it like it had to be the two of them having that match. I agree.
Right, but Dustin was obviously going to slow down. He's got other things going on. Bryan did his best. I thought it was a good match. It'll probably never happen again, so it's fun to see. But the right guy won, and I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, there was a couple of things though that the Danielson's just the greatest. Like, he's just the greatest wrestler, the smartest wrestler in the world. As far as from my point of view. He was trying to get in that cross arm bar, and Dustin was blocking it. So Bryan just said, well, F you then, and turned it into a short arm scissor because he can immediately do something like that because his brain works that way. And so when I watch him do the thing that everybody does in a match versus Dustin Rhodes, where you send him into the ropes and then you bend over to give him the back body drop, and he just like saunters up to you, drops to his knees and hits the uppercut. Like, Danielson is too smart to do that, and making him do that to get in that particular spot for Dustin, I think drops the match down a little bit. I'm not saying it was terrible, but I'm saying that when I saw his name on the bracket, I was like, that's an odd choice.
I think that was a specific, we want to do this. Let us have this one, and then we'll never do it again. Dustin, he does deserve some praise for the run that he's had, because obviously it's better than what WWE did with him at the end.
Sure. No, Gold Dust was terrible at the end.
But Danielson needs to move on. And I think he's moving on in a pretty big way, as we found out tonight. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Brett Lockman sent super chat saying, legit insane. That was the first singles match between Danielson and Dustin. That is kind of crazy considering how long they were in WWE together.
I think the only time they ever interacted was they did a 12-man tag against the Shield and the Wyatts.
Of course they did. Of course they did a 12-man tag. Brent says it did not disappoint. And Stephen Williams says every Danielson match seems like a dream match. It's honestly true. I think to me it seems like a dream match because this Bryan Danielson hasn't existed over the last decade. He hasn't been allowed to. We thought he was we all thought he was never going to get to wrestle ever again. Right. And then not only does he have a comeback, not only does he then become have a really cool heel run as WWE champion, not only does he put over Kofi Kingston, one of the most important WrestleMania title defenses ever, but then he leaves and goes here and has a completely new renaissance as the American Dragon 2.0. And I'm loving everything that he does, honestly.
I think the reality is, you say it hasn't existed for the last 10 years. This Bryan Danielson has never existed because the WWE system does give you a new wrinkle to your game. And Bryan mastered that as well as the indie stuff. And he's better than ever. And he's won every match with a different move. And I love nuances like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. We mentioned earlier before that Tony Nese was sitting at ringside. Now, Tony Nese, former WWE Cruiserweight champion, a very good wrestler. I won't say anything about his skills in the ring. AEW has a lot of very good wrestlers. I will say that what I have seen of Tony Nese in everything else that he does as a wrestler doesn't seem to me like. I would question whether you would want to sign Tony Nese over Buddy Matthews. And I don't know why, I don't know if that's, there's a difference in money that they were asking for or whatever. Maybe Buddy Matthews wasn't interested, but I think a lot of people were expecting, the old Bud Matt to show up in AEW and Tony Nese instead of him. I don't know if there is a 1-to-1 comparison, but they were both cruiserweight champions in WWE, and I know which one I would pick if I had my choice.
I'm willing to bet that Tony Nese was willing to come in on a trial basis.
Yeah, I'm
maybe
sure that's what it is.
Buddy Matthews, not so much.
I haven't seen, though, hey, here's a guy who his face from another place sitting at ringside. I wonder what he's doing here. I haven't seen them do that before, have we?
Well, also, but they're in Orlando, so that's the thing you do. You sit people in the crowd and you say, look who's here.
I love you say, well, we're in Orlando, like it was Mickey Mouse or something.
Yeah.
Just sitting in the crowd. There was a super elite promo, to Hangman, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was I liked Kenny saying I know you very well, Hangman, and I know that you go to you lay awake at night scared of failure, and I think that is the story that they're telling. And it's all great. There's nothing there's nothing wrong with this promo. It was a good way of getting them on the show when we thought there was no reason for them to be on the show otherwise.
Singular addition to this already well-told story. It's fine. We know what the money payoff is, and I think we're getting to that on November 13th. Yeah.
We also got an FTR and Penta promo, which I thought was kind of cool. They were giving the pre-tapes to each other. That was a really FTR was we're proud to be AAA champions, but we're gonna kick your butt at Full Gear, and then Penta and Alex Abrahantes were FTR. You not only did you cheat to take our AAA championships last week, but then last night on Rampage, you attacked us from behind. We don't think that's very good. And then they cut back to FTR and they say, well, if you don't think that's any good, we'll see it Full Gear. And then you'll see, like, and I thought it was kind of cool that they obviously did two pre-tapes, but it's like they were talking to each other in the pre-tapes. I thought that was clever.
It's very clear Tony Khan's a big fan of the old school, like WWF face-to-face stuff with Mean Gene, and they do it very well, and those aren't easy to do. And FTR does everything perfectly, so obviously great segment.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by more FTR and Penta and Phoenix stuff. I think that there's a lot of stuff they can do. They're two such great tag teams with such great followings that their TV match they had a year ago didn't click all the way, but I think that they can be doing some really, really great stuff.
And the reality is FTR has been out of the title picture for about a year now.
Yeah.
It's time to get them back in. It's time to get the Pinnacle back into the top picture because they haven't done anything since that feud with the Inner Circle.
Yeah. Sawyers sent super chat saying Alex Abrahantes with the Shiner seems like such a badass.
I wonder if Alex Abrahantes has ever been called a badass for
I don't know, but I you know what, it does make him look like, like he's been in a fight. I don't know. There are a lot of people who can be in fights, can be beaten up in a fight and not be a badass, but there does add a certain air to him that he didn't have before. So we'll see. Then we get the Sting interview, and then MJF coming out to cut the promo. I Am La Lucha says, MJF was magic if YouTube doesn't let you quote him. He's really good at this. Like, your mileage may vary about whether or not you like what he does, but what he does, the kind of heel promo that he cuts, nobody else is doing it.
Nobody,
and not nearly as good.
Maxwell Jacob Friedman is the best, most tapped in character in professional wrestling, and I'm willing to bet it's not much of a character. He's probably a real shitbag. He's from Long Island. Those kinds of things happen. I know. I used to live in New York. They're not that nice people, but MJF getting the most out of Sting. AEW goes back to an old faithful of Tony Schiavone's going to talk to Sting, except just kidding, because here comes somebody to interrupt. And it's cool to see Sting still getting physical. I love seeing this.
Yeah. Him like MJF walking down the ring, basically saying, like, I thought it was interesting that he was saying, Sting, you're such a bad friend. You turned your back on everybody who's ever been your friend, when the lore of Sting is that backs are turned on him, that he gets turned on by all of his friends like Flair over and over and over again. But he brought up specifically that Darby is really hurt, like selling it for several weeks hurt, and he'll be wind up just like Sting's other friend, Lex Luger, in a wheelchair, and he doesn't even get wheelchair all the way out because he gets clocked by Sting. But then out comes Wardlow and Spears, and they do basically what I wanted. Like, I wanted Wardlow specifically to like do a vicious backbreaker to Sting and do the whole Bane and Batman thing. Instead, they had Spears just wail on Sting's back several times with the chair, and the little things of that MJF does to piss off a crowd, like insisting that he get to put his sport jacket back on before he continues with his promo. The crowd hated that so much, and he was like, well, I get to do whatever I want. I'm MJF. And it works.
He's so fucking good. And I love this guy, and bringing up Lex Luger in a promo about Darby Allin, I don't know if those two things will ever happen again in wrestling, but MJF makes it work. He's so good. Him and Darby, presumably at Full Gear, will be a fantastic match. And I want more Sting and Wardlow.
Yeah, I really loved like MJF propping up Sting's near lifeless body and like, this is gonna be you. Like MJF hates Darby Allin, like really hates him, and I'm not really sure why, but okay. As Brent Lockman says, MJF doesn't speak so much as proclaims. You question nothing he says, and that feels so rare in wrestling. I mean, you can question a lot of things that he says, but he doesn't. You never question whether or not he believes the shit that he says, and that's really valuable. I thought this was all this did exactly what it was supposed to do. Sting started to get back up to his feet, so MJF clocked him with the diamond ring. At least MJF getting physical, like adding to the beatdown, I thought was really good. But I thought the best part of this whole storyline was the backstage thing. It was more like in a parking lot, and it was MJF gonna talk more to Darby. And then Spears is there too, polishing his chair, which I thought was a great little gimmick. But then Wardlow comes up like, "Hey, what's happened last week when you shoved me in front of Sting?" And I love that, like, MJF is so good at this. "Hey, buddy. Listen, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing for me to admit this, but it was fight or flight. I got scared. I freaked out a little bit. And I would never do that to you on purpose. But it's a good thing you're here because I wanted to have a little heart to heart. I realized I've been putting so much pressure on you, being the only one to watch my back, but that's why I pay you the big bucks. But now I think it's too much for you to do alone. So I'm going to assign you an accountability buddy." A what? An accountability buddy. And the whole time this is happening between Wardlow and MJF, behind them, right in the background, is Shawn Spears silently polishing his chair. And then it's like, "Who is it?" And he claps Spears on the shoulder and says, "It's Shawn here." And Shawn looks at Wardlow, looks at MJF, looks back to Wardlow. I had no idea what was going on. And then MJF walks away, and Spears looks up at Wardlow like, "Hey."
That's
the
so
hey
good.
Thing killed me. Spears honestly never got the credit for being just a dude who could just play really great emotions with his face when he was in NXT. And I'm really glad they're letting him do more of that stuff in AEW.
This segment was so good. I personally don't like it because if you watch this show, you know that I don't think MJF and Wardlow should break up until at least next year. But it looks like they are moving closer to that. But Spears just saying, "Hey, big man." Like, look, I got no idea, but I guess we're buds now.
This is not me. I don't want to do this. Yeah. Nikolai Kreese said Shawn Spears with the greatest hey of all time, and it's certainly top 5. I have to look through all the hays, but Jay Blood says that Shawn Spears is tremendous in this role. I agree. With the small amount of time he gets on the air, his role is important, and he pops me. Like, there's one thing I said this when they made him part of the gang. I was like, Shawn Spears, what's he gonna do? You already got FTR and you got Wardlow. Why Shawn Spears? Like, you need a guy who's crazy. You need a guy who's just out there because he gets a sexual pleasure from hitting people with a chair. You need a guy who's got 17 screws loose, and you think you found 16, but you don't know where the 17th one is. Like that, you need that guy, and I think he's doing it perfect.
And here's what he brings. Everybody knows they're top of the line, blue chipper. Spears is the one guy who everybody knows can take a loss, and Spears is just like, well then, screw it, I'm going to hit everybody with a chair, and I'm going to get myself over one way or another. And he does that, and I've grown to love him for it.
New Punk Rants says, accountability buddy is the best thing in wrestling. I think next year is the year of Wardlow. Listen, it's going to be soon. This guy's really talented. MJF is the best heel ever. I can't wait to see more, says New Punk Rants. Yeah, I also agreed. There's a lot of really cool stuff they can do with, like, they don't need to make him a baby face. Like, they can make him their version of the current incarnation of Brock Lesnar, where we root for him to destroy everyone and everything in his path. And we're not rooting for him like, yay, we love Wardlow. We just love violence. And we get to see Wardlow enacted on people.
And yeah, I want to go back to, you had mentioned you don't know why MJF is all upset at Darby. He spelled this out very clearly when talking to Wrestling. Darby's a stuntman. He's doing the Ric Flair to Mick Foley. You're not a wrestler. You're a stuntman. You'll be in a wheelchair by the time you're 30. And I think MJF just wants to help him get there, while at the same time helping his own career. I think putting these two guys together is smart because you got a lot of guys who are from WWE And it's time to say, yeah, we know we got all that, but look at these guys that we built on our own. And whenever they fight, it's going to be great.
Sawyer says Wardlow's a what? To the word accountability buddy is an underrated sell. I popped as much for that as the hey. Like, I'm going to go back and watch this whole thing again because I was way behind. I had to put my kid to bed and she was being very fussy. But I was watching this thing from like 20 minutes behind, so I was playing catch up the whole time. If I had been able to, like, was watching it in real time, I would have gone back and watched this little segment like 3 or 4 times in a row. I loved it.
You know what this works? You watch Raw, so you know that sometimes when people do backstage segments, they forget how to talk and they start talking like they're robots. These 3 men are just interacting the way human beings interact with one another.
Yeah, it really was. It was so natural. And speaking of somebody who is so natural in the promos, Britt Baker, her little interview tonight was just perfect.
Yep.
Her whole thing about Ty Conti, and you've been here when you came here, you've been showing your ass this whole time, and I, at Full Gear, I'm gonna kick that ass that you love showing to people. Like, just the way that she does it, it's just so natural. It makes you feel like she is delivering an obviously scripted promo, perfectly off the cuff, just like it came into her mind at the time.
You know, I love this pairing in particular because Britt Baker at one point was a good wrestler, but I don't know if she's got what it takes to match the Sashas and the Charlottes on the other channel. And Ty Conti was doing absolutely nothing in NXT to the point where when she was released, it was sort of like, all right, they cut bait. What are you going to do? Come to find out, she's the top female prospect to come out of that performance center. And now her and Britt Baker get to have a great match on a pay-per-view that's going to have finally more than one meaningful women's match. It's going to be great. I love where this division is going, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, Vastav Anand says that Britt Baker DMD made it all about the butt. She knows it's all about the butt. Do you know it's all about the butt?
You know it's all about the
butt.
It's all about the butt. It's all about
so good. And it is. It will be all about the butt at Full Gear, apparently.
Yes, all about the butt. By the way, that match is going to kick all kinds of ass. If they give it some time, those two can it's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of those deals where I don't think there's a chance that Ty Conti
not a chance at all
beats Britt Baker. And I can't wait to see the match anyway, because I know they're going to make the match itself really, really unique and impressive. I'm just looking forward to it so much. And it doesn't mean like sometimes I'll watch a show where matches on the other brand have obvious finishes, and I'll be like, I don't care about this, because it feels like they're putting it out there with knowing that there's no way, and you got to watch it anyway. They're going to make you believe through the next several weeks that Ty Conti can beat Britt Baker. And even in spite of yourself, they're going to make you believe it.
And they'll make you believe for the entire duration of the match, with every false finish, that there is a chance. And you will find yourself captivated and actually sitting there going, oh, she might actually win, which is something you got to give them credit for, because they make everything matter. And in the same vein, since we're talking about the women, I want to talk about the brilliance of the 4 buys in the TBS tournament. They're the 4 other women that are ranked. That's how you make ranks matter, because Ty's getting the title shot and the other 4 get the buys in the tournament. Brilliant. And I just want to shout them out for that.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I wish there were 4 other women in the tournament, and that you could have 4 more matches. And if you're gonna start it now, and it's supposed to last you all the way until January 5th, the first Dynamite for the finals, and we're apparently there was may or may not have been a notebook with things scrawled on it, held like this by Tony Khan in a very famous picture. One of the things may or may not have been a semifinals match at Full Gear on November 13th, and that's a semifinals match, which means that's the last round before the final. Like, you could have stretched this out by putting Big Swole, Diamante, Layla Hirsch. Like, you could have easily found 4 other women, to slot in there to let now they could have lost those matches to the 4 women with buys, but you could have stretched this out and gotten even more great women's wrestling, because the door has been left wide open for AEW to basically say, we are the home of great women's wrestling across the board, with long matches, with great storytelling within them, with great feuds among women who are not in the title picture. You have that opportunity to say, this is ours now.
And I have to say, I don't know how the other company left that door open when it was the one door they probably had the most security around, and they've somehow just said, screw it, we're going to leave everything out there. They did a tournament, and I think the longest match was about 5 minutes and 55 seconds. It was a shame. They do have a chance to bounce back here. They didn't do that with the participants, but hopefully they'll do that with the length of the matches, because that's what will matter.
Well, I don't know. How long was Ruby Soho and Penelope Ford? It felt much longer than anything we saw in the
absolutely. Yeah, I would say so.
And it was really good. The thing about it is that I think there's going to be one upset that we are not foreseeing in this tournament. Everybody's like, these are the obvious people who are moving forward. The obvious finals is going to be blank. And I think there's going to be an upset that we're not, at least one that we are not privy to yet. And I think they could have done a thing where they had Penelope Ford beat Ruby Soho, because the next round is Chris Statlander. She's a babyface. So you could have easily done Penelope Ford beats Ruby Soho, and the thing that you tell Ruby Soho backstage is it's okay, because you're going to be the next TBS champion. You are going to go on a win streak, and you're going to face the eventual champion in their first title defense. That'll be the thing that you could do that. But I'm glad they didn't, because I love Ruby Soho. She's super over. Penelope Ford has improved so much over the course of the past year. And I thought this was a really good match with a lot of really cool spots. There was where Penelope Ford does her bridge back, and Ruby's like, I'm going to pick you up. And Penelope is like, nope, you're not going to do that. No, I won't. I'm not going to let you. I'm going to dead weight this. It worked out to be it felt like a fight in that moment. I really enjoyed it.
The only thing I would say I didn't enjoy is the roll-up finish. I've seen too much of those. Nobody is Bret Hart. They don't make it work like Bret did.
No.
I don't like it.
No. The only, I will say, I see it too much, so I hate it no matter who does it. It's earned in this company because they don't do it very often.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the story of the bunny comes out. She's a distraction the whole time. She tosses the brass knucks. And the referee was Rick Knox, who is stupid, doesn't see anything when it happens, lets everything slide. And he was the guy who saw the knucks, put his foot on there and said, you're not taking this, kicked him out of the ring. And as Penelope's going for them, she leaves herself open to the roll-up. That is a very good storytelling device to get to the roll-up. Personally, I would have just had Ruby hit Penelope from behind and then do her finish to Penelope and beat her that way. The roll-up doesn't, I don't know why we're protecting Penelope Ford. And I feel like if a lot of people are picking Ruby to maybe not win the tournament, but get to the final, how are we to believe that she's gonna roll up everybody in the tournament? Because she could get a really strong victory against Penelope Ford and then go into a dog fight with Chris Statlander. And if she makes it out of that, she's got either Serena or Nyla or Shida. That right there, Serena or Shida, has to go up against Nyla, and you know how they love booking Nyla to win things that you think she's not going to win. So either of those three women versus Ruby, I feel like she could have gotten her strongest victory of the tournament tonight, and they didn't.
Yeah, and I think I've seen Ruby win and lose tourney matches with roll-ups because of where she came from. The detonation kick would not have hurt anybody, but I get it, and hopefully it's just not something they over-rely on going forward.
Yeah. But I otherwise I'm very, very intrigued by this TBS bracket. I still think they made the championship because they needed something for Jade Cargill to do.
That is my money as well.
I still think they did that.
Yep.
I see so many people going, well, she's going to lose in round 2. I'm like, I don't think that. No, she's going to. She'll win her first match against Red Velvet, presumably, but then she's going to lose in the next round. I wish I had your confidence, but I still don't think so.
She's going all the way. I think she beats Soho in the end.
New Punk Rant says, as someone who watches Dark and Elevation, AEW has been quietly building a huge women's division. I know they need to show more, but there's progress.
Yeah,
It's
progress is important. And Dark and Dark Elevation are important. I mean, Bryan is supposedly working tomorrow's tapings. Cole is supposedly working tomorrow's tapings. So those shows are important. And really, if you do want to support the talent, that's the best way to do it. You do have those shows to directly watch and support. And I think that going forward, you're going to see more like that for the men as well, while the women get more time on TV. I'm hoping that's where this is going. More time on TV for the women because they need it, and they've needed it for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. This is going to have, this has the opportunity to showcase a lot of your women that don't get on Dynamite very often. And it also has the opportunity to start brand new feuds that get them on Dynamite more often because they're wrestling important matches. We still haven't, I believe we still have yet to see 2 women's matches on a Dynamite, like, ever. And it's been long enough. It's been
way too long. I'm sure if they haven't done it by now, that's a surprise to me. And if they haven't done it, they need to do it now.
If they have, I feel like one of them was a squash. Like two decent length women's matches. Speaking of squashes, it was an extended squash, but Bobby Fish tried to send Anthony Green to sleep with the fishes. Like, he tried to murder that poor hippie. Like, that man who was half hippie, half Zubaz aficionado. Like, he did not fare well against Mr. Fish. Mr. Fish tried to kill that man and would have gotten away with it too, because after he killed him in the match, he said, "That's not enough. I'm going to kill you after the match." And then nobody was going to come to save Anthony Green except for CM Punk.
That's amazing. This is when I get really excited about pro wrestling, because Bobby Fish is really good. And I know a lot of people saw him as the other guy in the Undisputed Era. But
he was presented that way in NXT along the time.
Fish is so good. And next week he's going to fight CM Punk. This is a match we're getting on free television. And, it's so amazing to see where wrestling has come. And I got caught looking for Tony Nese to hop the guardrail and jump at Fish, and then Fish get a win over Tony Nese on Rampage. And to see CM Punk, that's really cool. And that's the next level for Punk, and I am ready to see CM Punk on that next level.
Yeah, I really just love Punk coming out there. What are you doing, man? Leave the kid alone. Like, he's just the most upstanding man in the world, and I love that they're just they're really feeding into that, so that when eventually that heel turn happens, it's gonna feel like such an ultimate betrayal. Because he's been the most honorable man in the world this whole time. And it's a really cool thing to get him to Fish being the heel who just likes hurting people. Yeah, that's a perfectly, the mid-card heel who just likes putting a hurting on dudes. That's a guy you need in your professional wrestling company. And then when he gets his comeuppance, the crowd cheers. And you need that. And you need the guy for CM Punk to do that to. And the guy who decides during the match, I'm going to go into this business for myself and try to put a hurting on Punk. I mean, not really, but the way that we're watching it looks like he might be. Like, that kind of stuff. It's really, really good.
And here's the beautiful thing. Fish did an interview recently, and he said he was willing to accept a player-coach role in NXT had it come to that. I can't think of any person to pair Fish with better than Daniel Garcia or Lee Moriarty. And you take these people, you put them with Fish, and now you've got tag teams that can run, and you've got, I'm thinking of so many ideas for Fish already, and the CM Punk match is just going to be a great exhibition. I'm so glad that even though the Undisputed Era was the best thing on NXT, so glad that half of that foursome is now in AEW doing some of the best work they've ever done.
I think it's soon to be 3/4 of that foursome.
Oh, I would agree with you, good sir. I would agree.
Because Kyle O'Reilly is hanging out in the woods with Von Wagner, and it's kind of weird. And I think Kyle O'Reilly knows it's kind of weird, and I think he might be counting down the days.
Red Death, Red Dragon. I like where we're going here.
So there is a backstage interview with Lio Rush and Dante Martin, where basically Lio says what we all thought he was going to do before. Matt Sydal is weighing you down. Get rid of Matt Sydal, and Dante is kind of iffy on it. It's like, don't worry, I got us a tag team match next week on Rampage. And Dante's like, yeah, and he's like, against the Sydal brothers, of course.
Yeah.
And I really want to see that, because Lio and Dante, there's such an amazing story that they are able to tell if they want to tell it, of Darius Martin coming back and being overprotective of his kid brother, and also being jealous of his kid brother because his kid brother got to shine while he was away injured, and also probably way down inside saying, I'm better than my kid brother. I've always been better than my kid brother. It's not fair that they gave you that shot while I was injured. You should have been the one to get injured. And they can tell that whole story while Lio Rush just pulls the puppet strings. And I can't wait.
It's the reverse Owen, and I like it. It's the, mom and dad always liked you best because you're the kid brother. It's not fair. I always had to take care of you, and you always got all the praise. It's so easy to do. And I love the idea of seeing this tag match. Poor Mike Sydal exists in this scenario to eat a pinfall, but that's okay. Sometimes that's the way the cookie
perhaps, or the most, maybe they're saving it for a one-on-one match, but the most impactful pinfall is Dante having to pin Matt. Maybe they're saving that. But I always come back to the same old gag. I did not know there was a Mike Sydal. And so the first time I saw Mike Sydal, I pulled a Homer Simpson. I was like, hey, there's a new Mexico. I had no idea such a thing existed. And honestly, every time I watch them team together, I think he's a pretty good wrestler. It's cool to watch the brothers together. I think that there's a chance to have them be more of a full-time foil for Darius and Dante down the line. There's a lot of cool stuff to do.
There is. I would say if Mike Sydal doesn't eat the pin, it's Lio pinning Matt.
Yeah,
Matt Sydal with
match,
the
you're right. But I think he's going to force Dante to have a singles match versus Matt Sydal, and then
Dante should win because Dante is a star and everybody knows it.
Yep. So we had Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer. Now Archer comes out first, and Eddie Kingston attacks him from behind. And the entire match is built around Lance Archer beating the bejesus out of Eddie Kingston, sometimes with the body of another man. He plucked an obvious plant fan out of the crowd and choke slammed him off the apron onto Eddie Kingston. And then, for some reason, Lance Archer goes to the top rope and does a moonsault and lands directly on the top of his head. And I was so scared, honestly, so scared.
So first of all, it popped me when they said he took a fan out of the crowd. Look, I love wrestling fans. There's no wrestling fan with platinum blonde, long hair that knows exactly how to sell these bumps. So that was just funny for me. That moonsault is the scariest fucking thing I've seen all day. Coupled with the fact that I just tonight watched the FMW story on Dark Side of the Ring and saw Hayabusa, and that bump Archer took looked scary close.
The scariest moonsault of any kind I've ever seen was one that didn't land wrong only because Mr. Perfect saved Chris Jericho's life. Remember that lion salt where he came and he wasn't rotating at all, And Perfect was smart enough to put his feet up and get Jericho off. Otherwise, Jericho was going to be dead.
Yeah.
Like those things are so dangerous. Brock Lesnar doing like that moonsault where he landed shooting star press. Yeah, jeez. Those things are so dangerous when you're a guy that size and that old. I don't know what you're trying to prove.
That's true, because Archer's like what, 43, 44?
He's old. He's old enough to know he shouldn't be doing that shit.
Yeah. You're too much. I don't need to see it again. I'm glad he's okay. Please never do that again, sir.
So they immediately check on him. He rolls to the outside. The doc comes out, checks him out. He's moving his neck around. He gets back in the ring, and immediately Kingston rolls him up with a Magistral Cradle, gets the pin. I'm assuming the plan was always for Eddie to win the match, but I don't think certainly like that. I'm very happy. Apparently, he made it to the back under his own power. As you heard Shawn say at the beginning of the thing, he's apparently okay. But that was some scary stuff.
I will be scared until I see him wrestle again and he's fine. Because if you remember, Brett at Starrcade took the kick, went to the back just fine. And he wasn't fine the next morning. I just hope Archer's okay, because that was rough. And I'm glad that he seems to be doing all right.
Like we saw Ricky Starks take that German from Adam Page, several months ago, land wrong and be back in a few months' time. So you never know. But that tonight looked really scary. New Punk ran sent a super chat saying, "Unfortunate for Archer, yes. But I'm excited for Bryan and Eddie. We're gonna get to that in a second. CM Punk smiling will always warm my heart. Also, I'm good. They think it's a nerve tumor. Okay, I'm very happy for you, New Punk rants. Still keep us posted. We're pulling for you. Bryan and Eddie is an amazing opportunity to tell some really, really cool stories. Bryan is going to literally try to kick off Eddie Kingston's head, and Kingston is going to say, "Is that all you got, bitch?" This is going to be a lot of fun. And they have set up such great stories for the entire tournament. I think the finals is obviously going to come down to Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. And if Bryan Danielson has to resort to tearing ligaments out of the knee of Eddie Kingston in order to get him to submit, isn't that going to piss off Eddie Kingston's best friend, Jon Moxley, even more? So we'll probably get that, because Eddie Kingston's never going to willingly submit to anything. So Danielson's going to be forced to go to places he didn't think he was going to have to, which is going to piss off Moxley even more. There's so much there, man.
And there's so much there. You're going to see a road to at some point over the next few days. It's going to show their time on the independents, the same roads they traveled. I'm sure there'll be some Larry Sweeney talk. It's going to be a very beautiful build to but I'm sure will be a great match. I'm assuming this goes to Moxley and Bryan, and not just because that was the second match written down on Tony's nice
may or may not be anything.
May or may not be.
We're not sure. He was holding it at Jaguars game. We're not saying it was anything, just no spoilers.
But even still, the idea that I'm sure, Cassidy could beat Moxley, and then Cassidy Bryan being the just beautiful polar opposites, that would be a lot of fun at a pay-per-view. Either way, I think Danielson goes all the way, and I think he's the next champion one way or another.
Oscar Villanueva says that Lance said on his Twitter that he's good. He's a tough SOB. Yes. He is the toughest. So apparently they Eddie and Bryan cut a promo on the Rhodes to the Top. During the first break of the Rhodes to the Top, they do the Tony Schiavone interview. Apparently, I've been told by Luis Polito, our mod, it's a must watch. I can't wait. It should be a lot of fun.
It will be.
Here's something that wasn't a lot of fun for me. American Top Team, at least Dan Lambert. All this segment proved is that Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky don't need anybody talking for them. I mean, Dan Lambert, you're not needed here. You can go away now.
Dan Lambert is there because Tony Khan likes him apparently, and he has fun being a old school wrestling heel. The problem is, and I'm a little like, I am sick of reading every week after these Lambert Inner Circle segments. We don't need these promos. These promos are old hat. Whether it's Jericho, Lambert, somebody always says something that is just a little too old school and doesn't fit today's world. And I'm ready to see it stop.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we will see it stop at Full Gear. So they're talking crap about everybody, and Paige is really good at it. And Lambert's a heat magnet, and everyone's gonna boo Dan Lambert, and I get it. Like, you should boo him, boo that man.
Yeah,
but like it's not like, oh, we're playing along because you're a heel. I think.
They're not saying boo earns either. You know, they're saying boo.
Nobody's saying boo earns. But Sammy Guevara comes out to answer all of their stuff, and they want a match. They want their 10-man tag at Full Gear, and Lambert says, okay, but only if you put the TNT title on the line next week on Dynamite against Ethan Page and somehow win. And if you lose, not only do you lose the title, but you have to leave the Inner Circle altogether. And I was like, perfect, book it. Ethan Page wins. Because Sammy Guevara is too good for that thing. So is Santana Ortiz. Get him out, get him out, get him out. All they are doing is being dragged down by Jericho and Hager.
The damn problem here is that you want to see Masvidal and Andre Arlovski get in the ring at Full Gear, because I would love to see, all right, Page has the title and Guevara is on his own, which is great, because they need to move on from the Inner Circle. And every week I go,
but he has to win.
How did they just not, have the Pinnacle win in May? But they didn't. So, here we go.
And Guevara has to beat Ethan Page, which is too bad, because Ethan Page shouldn't be losing to anybody. He's so good. And they should be protecting him until he gets a shot at the big title. He's so good at everything. But Sammy Guevara says, well, when I beat your boy Ethan Page, then I get to pick the 3 people from American Top Team to be in the 10-man tag. And I mean, I think it's fine, and it's fun. I like that a babyface, as we say here. Daniel R says, I like that Sammy put in a stipulation. I hate when a heel team makes stipulations and the babyface just accepts them because they are noble or whatever. Yes, I get it. I like that Sammy's like, well, we get a pick, but he's gonna win next week because you don't put in a stipulation like this without actually doing it. But when he picks the 3, the people he should pick are Dan Lambert, Paige Van Zandt, and I don't know, like, who else? But like, he's gonna pick like Masvidal and Dos Santos and I don't know, Arlovski, exactly. But like, that was what I forgot. But wouldn't that be the same 3 guys that Lambert would pick? Like, they would pick those guys because they want to get revenge on them. But Lambert would pick those guys because those guys should be able to,
because those guys will
kick those guys' ass.
One of the picks should be Lambert, but and then you do Dos Santos because you got in the ring already, and Masvidal because he keeps kneeing Jericho in the head. But one of the picks should be Lambert, and Lambert should tap out to the walls of Jericho. Like, that's the way this should go.
And then we never see him ever again. Like, that's it. Like, he got his comeuppance. He did the thing you wanted him to do. He tapped out to Jericho, played Judas. Everybody can sing to it. And then we don't see Dan Lambert anymore. We can, if you want to like get Dos Santos to work out in a gym and have him become a legitimate professional wrestler down the line, great. Awesome. I have no problem with that. But like,
you got a Nightmare Factory for that. You don't need Dan Lambert.
Right. And you also have Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, who do not need anybody else. They are themselves enough to me.
Yeah, they never did. And it seems weird that they were insistent on putting them with Dan Lambert. I know they needed the guy to make them uber heels, but they never needed the mouthpiece. So it's better ended sooner than later.
Yeah. I am La Lucha. says, I'm genuinely hoping TK realizes that Lambert's and Cody's heat is not a work. Yeah, we'll see. James Bowers.
Not a likely one on that last one, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Lambert, says James Bowers, is just a stand-in for TK's love for old school heels like Cornette. This angle would work if it was actually Cornette because of real heat between Cornette and Kenny and the Bucks. I mean, I guess I think it would also work if he was repping two wrestlers who couldn't talk themselves and needed a guy like Lambert to get them over.
It's like if you had Camarado here and like another big guy the same says Camarado, it'd work better because Camarado can't talk. He can rip up gaming signs about RPGs, but he can't really cut a promo. Yeah. And that would help. But Paige and Sky just outshine Lambert. So it just feels weird at the end of all this.
Yes. You know who can cut a promo? John effing Moxley. This promo, backstage, this pre-tape, was perfect. This like bringing it down to earth and making you relate to him as like, I'm not doing it for anything else. I don't even care about being champion. I care about getting home with all of my toes and teeth to my little baby girl. The way like as a father who has had an infant little girl grab you by the pinky and not let go, it's the best feeling in the world when it happens to you the first time. I will never forget it. So I relate to John Moxley in this moment. And I love that he is making me relate to him a week before he mows through number 10 and 2 weeks before he ruins Orange Cassidy's life. Like that, like he's made me believe he was a decent man who's just doing his job. Right before he goes on a tear where he's going to become the most insidious, villainous, horrible heel he's ever been. I believe they're going in that direction. And I love it.
2 weeks ago, the man said, "This is my company. That is my belt." And then he had a real down-to-earth moment because life can change week to week, boys and girls. And I'm glad you said what you said because you do have that firsthand experience. Personally, for John Moxley's sake, I wish that moment had happened before he decided, let me be the deathmatch king against Nick Gage. Yeah. But, better late than never. I'm glad he got there. I want to see the promos between himself and Bryan Danielson, who also has 2 young kids at home. And we've seen the footage of Bree telling Birdie, no, you can't see the scars tonight. They're too much. That is a made story. That is real. I want to see it. One is fighting for his newfound life. The other one is fighting for a life he always wanted that got ripped away from him. It's so simple. It works.
Moxley is magic in the ring, on the mic, standing face to face with the dude he's about to kick the ass of. Like he's like ever since Ambrose was too, but Moxley, man, I can't wait for that promo where he says, I've seen the footage, man. I've seen that your wife doesn't let your little daughter look at daddy when daddy's all beat up. I'm going to beat you up so bad your daughter's never going to look at you again. Like just some really good old school, I'm going to kick your ass shit. Like it's going to be good, man.
And that there's beautiful history between these two because Dean Ambrose and Daniel Bryan rarely ever cross paths. Yeah. They were in the ladder match at 31 and that's it. Bryan can say, I was the authority. I helped you become champion. That is written in stone. There's television shows that show that. There's so much here, and I can't wait to see it unfold.
Yeah, Glenny Coda has a great super chat saying that Mox has had fatherhood change him for the worst, and Hangman has it change him for the best. It's perfect undertones for a future feud. I still think, man, like if I had my choice of who's going to be the first guy to beat Bryan Danielson in AEW, would it be the former Dean Ambrose? No. I think there are people within AEW for whom that rub would be like rocket ship to the moon. But could you sell me on John Moxley, a guy who was so pissed that he lost the title to Kenny cheating and turning heel really by cheating to beat Moxley for that belt. And Moxley hated that and forced his way back into the title match again, a rematch against Kenny, and lost the way he did in that the barbed wire match and everything. And he works his way all the way back up here just to be a guy who cheats to beat Bryan Danielson so he can get that title shot against Hangman, because that title, he remembers what that title means when he's one step away from it. Like, there's a really cool story there to tell. I'm not saying I would book it there if it was my top choice, but you could tell that story.
I don't see Moxley out wrestling Bryan Danielson.
No.
I think, look, Bloodsport's great. I think he can try, but I think he's going to get frustrated, kick Danielson in the nuts, paradigm shift, and I think that's how Moxley wins if he does. I think as far as him losing to the former Dean Ambrose, there's nothing really wrong with that.
No.
At some point, you have to get over they were both in WWE.
I agree.
Because, AEW is here to make things better, and you can't do that if you're dwelling on the past.
No, it's true. James Bauer says, can AEW do a babyface matchup between Mox and Hangman? Does that booking work well, or is it not time for this matchup? Oh, I think they're definitely building to it. And I think that in that match, regardless of whether or not Moxley gets cheered on his way to the ring, he's going to get booed 2.5 minutes into that match. He's going to tell you, no. You root for this kid. I'm a piece of shit. You hate me. I'm going to prove it to you. Watch me gouge this kid's eyes out. Like, he'll do it because he knows that that's his job. And I think I think it's going to great.
The only thing I would say there is Bryan Danielson came into this company and said, all right, Punk wants to work with the younger kids. Great. I just want to kick their fucking heads in. You can do that by kicking Hangman's head in and saying, look, I don't care that he's your hero.
Right.
I'm here to be the best. So there's a lot on the table here, and I love that there are always all these options within AEW.
I am La Lucha says, you can't call Mox a heel after that promo. I kill for my dog, never mind a kid. He's just a man doing what he has to for what he loves. Great fun story. That can be the story he tells himself. And if he just goes in there and wrestles a match and gets a pin and wins, fine. But if he does what I think he's going to do and absolutely wrecks the world of Orange Cassidy in round 2, I think that it's not just doing what you're doing because it's your job to get to the next round. I really, really like violence. Like, I really like hurting people. Like, I want to get home to my kid. I love my kid. But also, if you get in the ring with me, you might not walk out again. That is a different thing. I don't know if it's heel or face, but there's a level of that I think Moxley can play that I think is really, really excellent.
One of the greatest comic book stories ever is The Killing Joke. And the whole crux of that is One Bad Day. And for Jon Moxley, One Bad Day was December last year when he lost the belt. I don't think that that's ever stopped him from going crazy. We've seen the hair loss. We've seen, he's just become a little more untamed. Mm-hmm. I think now it's time to go full heel against anybody.
Yeah. Ken Shiro says he predicts that Elite will interfere to cost Bryan because Kenny's more afraid of him as a challenger. Keeps heat on Bryan and Kenny as a feud, non-title. Well, I guess that's true, because Kenny, at the finals of the Elimination Tournament, which is at Full Gear, if that were to happen, then it will definitely go on before Kenny. Kenny will assume he's going to beat Hangman, so he may be costing Bryan that thing, assuming he's going to be champion when he's not going to be champion at the end of the night anyway. So I think that's also possible.
And if it is, it allows for, Bryan to continue feuding with the Elite, maybe get the tag match in with the Bucks, because there is CM Punk, sitting right there that can do a tag team match. There's so many options again, and that's what makes the show actually fun to watch. Yeah. There's options.
I'm La Lucha says, what a great comparison that you made, Bobo, The Killing Joke and Mox. I agree. And Daniel R says, I kind of disagree. Would love for Danielson to say, I will beat you in your style of match. And that's why I want this to be a no holds barred. And I'm not saying that the only story to tell is Moxley beating Bryan Danielson in this way. I'm saying it's a story you could tell. Another story you could tell is the thing you just pitched, and there's probably 10 other ones that I implicitly trust AEW and Khan and Moxley and Danielson to tell in this story.
I just want to, because we are a wonderful wrestling stream here, I just want to say the Kiss Demon from WCW is on his way to the ring at Impact Bound for Glory. Just so we're clear.
Well, I think they were probably trying to get somebody else, but this was all they could do. So, I mean, good. I'm glad the Kiss Demon is there.
Good for him for getting a booking in 2021.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Okay. So, Rob Reed also says, I could easily see Mox doing an NXT Kevin Owens, the thing where he justifies his horrible actions by saying it's for his family. Yep, that's another thing they could do. That always works. And I definitely think he would kill it. So Dark Order and Hangman had a really nice segment backstage. Dark Order is going to face the Elite next week. Hangman basically saying, hey guys, sorry for what happened. Sorry that my leaving kind of made you guys go crazy. I'm glad to see you're all back together. Hey, next week for your match with the Young Bucks and Kenny and Adam Cole, I know they'll be wearing costumes. So I guess that'll be.
I think they're just going to be a giant horse. All of them. I think
all of them. The longest horse costume ever. Yeah, it's like a horse centipede with 17 sets of legs. Or how many people are in the full Dark Order?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Why? Why Jungle Boy versus Brandon Cutler? Why is this a thing that they did? I mean, I love Brandon Cutler's a great stooge, but the fact that there was also we're looking forward tonight to Jungle Boy beating the crap out of Brandon Cutler in 2 minutes.
Because it's all right. You get to hear Tarzan Boy, and I think they're legally mandated to play Tarzan Boy in every city.
I would have loved for them to have said tonight, Jungle Boy versus a member of the Elite. And then the person who comes out is Brandon Cutler. Promoting Jungle Boy versus Brandon Cutler when we know for a fact what that's going to be. And it was what we thought it was going to be. A very easy, quick squash for Jungle Boy. It seems kind of well, why does anybody actually care to watch that? Now, everything that happened after that was great. But it was the kind of thing if that's what's on, I'm going to see what's happening in the baseball game. I don't think you needed to do that specifically. Anyway, I thought that this was really good. There was a Jungle Boy spot. I forget what it was that could have gone really, really wrong. Oh, that Suicida, Tope Suicida. We saw one of those in NXT. I think Jungle Boy's done a lot more Tope Suicidas than JC Jane in his life. But that thing is always dangerous. And there's 4 or 5 people who do it perfect every time. And they're the ones who should be doing it.
They need to, especially in AEW, you need to go, we have Darby. Stop doing this, except for Darby, who legitimately looks like he's trying to kill somebody. Because everybody else, it's very scary. And I could have done without seeing it, especially in a match against Brandon Cutler. You don't need it. Other than that, I thought this was a lot of fun. Yeah. I enjoyed the quick STF tap out. I enjoyed it going on again and Brandon screaming, somebody help me, Matt, Nick. I've known you for 20 years. And of course, Adam comes and saves him. It's not even Matt or Nick. Adam says, yeah, what are you doing? You think you're a real big man beating up on Brandon Cutler. You're an embarrassment. And of course, behind him, Young Bucks, super kick. That's all you need. And then you get the super click beat down.
Yeah, super click beat down was great. Tossing him into the table, setting it up for Jungle Boy and Cole. But I think another thing it sets up for in the future is Cole and Christian, because they've already taken out Luchasaurus. This could have taken out Jungle Boy for a while. Christian coming back after tonight. He doesn't have the TNA belt anymore. Sorry, Impact belt anymore after tonight, presumably. And him coming back just pissed that he lost the title and pissed that while he was gone, Adam Cole and the Young Bucks beat up his friend Jungle Boy. I think there's a Christian and Cole match in our future as well. that should be a lot of fun. I think that this whole thing was to set that up, and that's great. Now, before we got this, I really liked that Jungle Boy was like, "Oh, I that was a nice warm up. Good try, buddy. I like that a lot."
Yeah.
He says, "But you know what? I'm good. I think I could go again." And when you have that feeling, when you want to have that feeling of, hey, I could go again, maybe you could turn to something that might be able to get you there.
I hear you. Times are rough. We just got out of a wild situation, a wild year, and people are saying, you know what, it's a hard knock life. But I disagree. Instead, I believe it's a hard cock life when you use Blue Chew and the code Fightful, and you get your first shipment free. Free? All you got to do is pay $5 shipping. Blue Chew is made with the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work, but they work on your schedule. Full stomach, empty stomach, ready to go, want to get in the mood. Blue Chew has you covered. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. I don't think so. More like somebody's getting dicked when you use BlueChew.com. No awkward conversations with the doctor. Because, I'm all about not being awkward. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. It's because they work with their online physicians to get the active ingredient you need, and it ships straight to your door. BlueChew.com and the code Fightful gets you your first shipment free. That's how confident they are. Free. Use that promo code Fightful. Hardcock life.
It's a hard cock life.
It really is.
Daniel R asks us to finish this sentence. Full Gear Adam Cole versus, I think, Christian.
I would say Christian as well.
Tom LaValle says, I want to see Jungle Boy win a title before MJF, and that will drive MJF nuts. I think that's also a thing.
I think that's why he's mad at Darby. Darby's been TNT champion.
I think that very well could be possible. Wrestle Riot says, I was at Dynamite tonight and got to fist bump CM Punk. OMG. Well, good for you, Wrestle Riot. That's awesome. That is awesome. Very jealous.
This guy's only been back for 2 months. Don't forget that. This guy was gone for 7 years.
Yeah.
And it's been a great 2 months.
Yeah. One of the things that we do over on the Fightful post-show NXT podcast is I am a jukebox for impressions of certain people in NXT. And if you send me money, I have to do it. So somebody asked me for Walter's thoughts on the Young Bucks. Now, this is a very, very accurate impression of Walter and an impression of nobody else. Okay? Here we go. Yeah, the Young Bucks, I do not like them. The super kick. It's not super in my book. If you want to kick somebody hard, you have to kick them into the sun. Kick them as far as you can. Personally, I like my super chop, where I stop people's hearts when I chop them so hard. That is what you do. I do not like the Young Bucks.
What does McBain think about the Young Bucks?
McBain thinks the same thing.
No. Okay.
So also, I'm LaLucha asked me, if it's all about the butt, what are Walter and Tony D'Angelo's thoughts on the butt? So I have to, he paid me $10. I have to do it. So here we go. Walter and Tony D'Angelo's thoughts on the butt. Here we go. Hey, big man. I was wondering, personally, I'm more of a fan of the bazooms. I'm more of a fan of the bosoms. That's me. I'm a boob man. I'm not sure. Walter, maybe you could enlighten me on your own proclivities, the different parts of the body. I am a butt man. I like the butt. I like to slap the butt. I like to spank the butt. I like the curvature of the rump. That is me. But me, I am Walter. I'm not. That's. I like to chop the butt. I chop it hard, and it makes the go wobble, 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 wobble. I love the butt. Hey, that's pretty good. You over here, me over there. We like different parts. That's fine, but we're still friends. So that's something that happens on NXT all the time. If you want to come over and watch that show, you're more than welcome to.
I think I want to do that show. No.
Okay, so we got to the main event. Not the main event you're thinking of, Cody and Malachi. I'm talking the main event. Miro's promo. Miro's video package again is so great. God, why aren't you listening to me? Like it's so good. And his whole thing where he says, they will make me wrestle 100 times and I will snap 100 necks. Like he's just so great at this. They are, like I've said this before. Sometimes you build a monster heel and he's a champ and he's been built up to this point and you can't imagine somebody would listen. Would be able to beat him, right? And he could possibly lose. And that guy loses. He has to lose eventually. But sometimes you have to figure out a way to keep that guy strong, and it's hard to do. AEW and Miro are knocking the shit out of the park, keeping him strong. He feels stronger now after these 2 back-to-back promo packages than he was before he lost the title. Like, he has declared war on God. Like, and I believe Miro's gonna win. Like, it's so cool.
First of all, the place he used to work for likes to declare war on God. I wonder if he's taking some notes. But I love, because I pitched this a while ago.
Yeah.
He can't see his wife. Lana won't see him. Lana won't sleep with him because he's not champion. She only wants winners. And therefore he has disappointed not only his, spiritual God, but his earthly God. Yeah. He's just losing right now. And he's going to kill everybody until he can win again.
I love it.
Love it.
I love it so much. So here we go. Here's the actual main event. Cody versus Malachi. It's a great match. I mean, it's unequivocally a great match. Cody Rhodes is a really damn fine wrestler. I just wish he wasn't the most unself-aware wrestler in the world. He is out there doing babyface hope spots to a crowd that loathes him. And I wish they would just sink into it, make the turn, do something, like figure out a way to like at least get us toward that place. They put over the wrong dude. They put over the wrong dude. The match was excellent. I can't say anything bad about the match. They put over the wrong guy. Listen to the crowd. They put over the wrong guy.
He had to beat him eventually. And I think they're feeling like, well, we gave Malachi 2 wins. We had to do something different with Cody. Cody in the ring is not self-aware, but Cody elsewhere is, because he clearly said, I feel like Woody in Toy Story, and he's acting like Woody in Toy Story. He's, hey, no, it's Woody's Roundup. We're good. Or what is this buzz like? You don't want to go to space? You want a Western. You don't want to go to space. And Cody's just out here on his own, trying to do what he's always done. And at some point, it's going to hit him. They don't want to play with you anymore. And that's when Cody is going to lose his mind.
Right. We have a lot of super chats about this thing. Most super chatted thing of the night. Nikolai Kreese says that if my tweet was anything to go by, pretty sure that I'm going to be the voice for a lot of fans after the main event. Glad Lance is seeming to be okay. That's true. Yeah. Oscar Villanueva says, I'm sorry that Cody win just ruined Malachi Black for me. I trust AEW though. Hope something good comes from this. Not ruined. Certainly not ruined.
Yeah, he's not ruined. He'll be all right.
He's not ruined. After having beaten Cody twice, losing to him once doesn't prove anything on behalf of Cody. And that's the problem here, is they think it does. And I don't agree. I think he's still up 2-1. Is this a best of 3? Because if so, he won. If it's a best of 5, please don't. I don't need to see 2 more of these.
He's
2-1.
They said this was the end. I'm hoping that they're honest.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to see this again, but I'm good enough with how it ended because I knew Cody was going to win eventually. I thought he would win at Grand Slam. I thought there would be no way he lets himself lose in New York City. So that was nice enough.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to do something new with Cody. People are tired. If you have more opinions like the one you just read, where one loss to Cody can kill somebody, you got to do something new with Cody. It's time.
Well, here we go. R26 says, Cody was my favorite wrestler in AEW when AEW started. Now I can't stand him. And the thing is, that's fine if Cody is self-aware enough And AEW is smart enough to just play into that. Like, then you could have an amazing heel to like, you could have an amazing heel that would actually work really well to actually be basically a guy. Like, imagine him like using all of his pull, being an on-screen guy who says, no, that doesn't work for me, brother. Like literally doing that on screen. You could, like, lean into it. Lean into it.
That's at this point, you know, they overplayed the authority angle in WWE. But in 2013, when it started, that was what they wanted from Hunter. Right now, that's what they want from Cody.
Yeah.
Say, hey, it doesn't work for me. I made this world title. I'm going to win it now.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's what they want from Cody. And I think that's what needs to happen. People don't care if you think, oh, we're doing something that's never been done before. What are you doing? Not listening to the audience? You're doing the John Cena. Like, indeed, that's been done before. Turn heel, be a great heel. And right now, Arn Anderson, who's far too old and has been retired longer than most of the people watching this show right now have been alive, is more over because he said in the 80s, I would shoot people for stealing my car than you are for being a good guy pro wrestler. It's time to shift.
Yeah. Joey Bag of Donuts says Cody got booed as a commercial was talking about getting booed. That's true. Brent Lockman said Cody had 3 people at ringside. Black was alone, yet he's the heel. What? Yeah. I mean, like him having like, oh, I'm going to bring out all of my friends to make sure that you don't do anything wrong. Then I'm going to drop you through a table. Like, I understand that like Black set up the table hoisted by his own petard, but still,
you know, but it's not implied that Black has Satan on his side. See, that's just the thing. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. James Bowers says, I didn't get the Cody backlash and overbooking criticism. Where did the Cody until this week? So I didn't get the Cody backlash until this week. Where did the Cody of 2019 go? How has this happened? I don't know.
A couple of things happened. So the Codyverse that we have affectionately called it, the stuff with the factory and the Nightmare family happened, and the promo leading up to the Anthony Ogogo match happened. I think there were too many tone deaf moments from Cody that he just hasn't bounced back from yet. Can he do it? Sure. Wrestling fans like to tear you down so they can bring you back up, but you gotta let them tear you down and tell that story first.
Yeah. The bean kicked in says, that main event made me go, and grimace. Cody does not understand what his character is. It's the first miss that was the complete miss for me. It's unfortunate because I don't think it ruins Malachi Black's character or mystique. I would not have booked him to lose his first match so early in this run. Certainly wouldn't have booked him to lose it to Cody. But I think what it signifies is worse, that they have a blind spot. Not only is Cody not self-aware, but they have a blind spot of what Cody is. Cody can think he was whatever he is. Tony and other people backstage have got to take him aside and say, here is video where you can hear people booing everything you do. You are a heel to these people. Regardless of whether or not you want to play a heel, they already hate you. Let's figure out a way to make that work for us and not against us. Here's the thing about this match. It was a great match. I'm not saying anything against the match. The wrong guy went over. And here's how you know the wrong guy went over. They had to pull out the freaking kitchen sink to get everything done. They had to have Andrade come out and point a gun at a fake finger gun at Arn Anderson. They had to have Pac come down and attack Andrade. They had to have Andrade's assistant try to hit Arn Anderson with an iPad to do the spine buster, so that both Black and Cody had time to blade and get some color to make the match seem more real. Like, if you had just done what everybody thought you should have done, which is had Malachi get put over strong, you wouldn't have had to do all the weird bells and whistles. You wouldn't have had to overbook to that extent to make it work. And that's the problem. The simplest choice is often the right one.
Yeah, and that finish for me was a little dusty and not in a good way. That was a lot, although I will never not mark out for Arn Anderson doing anything physical. He hit a spine buster. It was great. I still don't know this guy's name or what he's who is he or what he does, but Andrade chose to beat up Chavo Guerrero Jr. and keep this guy rather than vice versa.
Yeah.
So I guess that counts for something. This was good enough as is. Now I wonder, and I wonder how close to the vest you can tell this story. Does Andrade not like Cody because he's marrying a Flair and Cody is Rhodes? Like, is that?
That's that. I mean, could be. I think it isn't like Cody because Cody put his nose in Andrade's business on Rampage last night. I think it's as simple as that. But I listen, at this point, just extract Malachi and Andrade entirely from this thing. Let Cody do whatever vanity thing he's going to do in his next feud, and give me Pac versus Malachi Black for 35 minutes. Like, I need to see it. Let's do it. Is Pac versus Black at Full Gear? Like, why can't we see that? There, you've already set it up. I need to see it now.
Here's why I need Cody in this story. I'm tired of the vanity projects. I need his hand forced. I need him in whatever is really happening around him, because the vanity projects need to die, and they have been there ever since he lost the right to challenge for the world title 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I need him focused on AEW week to week, and I'm hoping that keeping him here will do that.
Yeah. Brent Lockman says, I always assumed the theme of this feud was Cody's corruption. Might still be, but I don't know anymore. Yeah, after the second loss and the black mist in his eyes and Arn like miming shooting him in the head, and then Arn showing up at his house burning his suits. Like, I thought we were done with the Malachi stuff and now on to Cody trying to find himself stuff. I didn't think we needed to have Cody beat Malachi in order for that second part to happen. I will say there are some people out there who do not agree with us, like Jay Blood, who says, love the main. Every little thing they're doing with Cody is designed to provoke the audience, to push him over the edge, excited for what's next. I agree with the second part. I don't think I'm excited to see if they actually ever figure out how to make this work.
I trust them enough to think that they know where they're going. And that is why I'm willing to let this play out. But if we're sitting here next All Out talking about the Codyverse, we have lost far too many steps.
Yeah. I will say this is very true. They ended the match with a Tiger Driver 98. But it sure looked for a second like he was going to hit the pedigree to win. And if he had done that, I might have forgiven everything. The Buzz says the pedigree tease popped me. I really enjoyed this Dynamite. The pedigree tease, like, honestly, if he had beaten Malachi Black with a pedigree in the middle of the ring, I might have let it slide. But the Tiger Driver wasn't as special. It just wasn't.
Look, I don't care if he wants to do something that isn't the Crossroads. Crossroads is a weird move anyway.
Yeah.
You saw it through the table tonight. It looked like Cody ate more of the table. I've never really liked the move. Yeah. But for 5 seconds, I said he's going to hit the pedigree and it's all going to make sense. And then he did the J Driller, and no.
Yeah. So that was AEW. Next week looks to be excellent. Bound for Glory is going on right now, and we're going to have a post show for that later tonight at 1 a.m. Eastern, because Bound for Glory, because Impact said we're in Vegas, why not run it at normal Vegas time and not normal East Coast time? Screw all you people, stay up late with us.
I mean, look, if the partnership is going to end, like the rumors have said, what better way than to be courteous to AEW on your final night of partnership?
That is true. Robert DeFelice, it has been a pleasure. just the two of us hosting a show. Just the two of us. We can make it. Okay, it has been fun. We've never done one of these before. I'm sure Shawn will put us in this position at some point down the line when he decides to take a night off again.
You know, and I'm good with that, because if Sean Ross Sapp decides, I need a night, that's fine, because I think we held it down. If you want to follow more of me, you can follow me on Twitter at DeFelice. All that's in the description. I'm here every day on Fightful writing up news. And you can catch me talking into this microphone elsewhere. Just follow me on Twitter to find out where. And Alex, what do you got going on? Because you do a bunch of podcasts here now.
I do. I earlier today I did Sour Graps for the Fightful Select. Subscribe to Fightful Select. You get all the awesome news and scoops with a Z that Sean Ross Sapp gives you every damn day. And twice a week, we get a podcast every day there, but twice a week, that's my podcast. Today, I did one on SmackDown, and the belt swap that went to hell and back. I talked about that. Also, I late nights on Mondays after the regular YouTube post show, I do Sour Graps about Raw. And then on Tuesdays, we have the greatest and longest NXT 2.0 after party in history with me and Kate Hensler. This week is Halloween Havoc, and we're planning a Halloween party that you guys do not want to miss. I promise you. So please come and join us after NXT 2.0 on Tuesday. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, bring your own candy. If you bring candy corn, you're fired. And yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. You guys have easily the best chemistry, and I'm sure we'll all be watching.
All right. Thank you, everybody. As we say, as SRS would say, we're out. But on the Tuesday show, we always sign off by saying, keep cool, Gabagool.